the cut. So you keep doing. No,
she's saying,
she's
fine,
saying.
let me
You keep
rephrase.
doing that.
Let
You
me
keep
rephrase.
doing that.
Well, I've never.
How do you not have Vaush? This is probably one of Vaush's biggest debates, I would imagine. There, I made the blueprint correct. Are you happy? It's probably one of Vaush's biggest debates that he's had in a while. I don't know why he wouldn't write anything down for this or prepare at all. You can say I hate Briahna. She stands for everything I stand against, and I think she has the wrong opinions on everything. But she's very smart. I would never call this woman stupid, ever. Well, I might say, oh, she's an idiot because I disagree with opinion, but she's not stupid, right? If I had a debate against this person...
Nobody, that's my point! That's my point!
Then listen.
Can you make Vaush's argument for him? I'm joined in late and I'm confused on what the argument is. Technically, Briahna's argument is correct here, but she's presenting herself as more reasonable than normal, but the problem is that Vaush doesn't have any specifics to nail her down on. What Briahna's argument is
because you're too afraid
please,
to advocate.
No matter what she personally believes, she covers for fascists. She's representative of the rot in the online left, unworthy of the platforms that they stumbled into through the charity of people smarter than them. A genuinely unhinged person, she'll never have me on. You'll never have me on, will you, Briahna? You know that wouldn't go well for you.
I'm excited to be joined today on Bad Faith Podcast for the first time by prolific Twitch streamer turned YouTube streamer, Vaush. Welcome to the program.
Hello, what a pleasure to be here. Hope you're doing well this fine morning.
I am doing well. Look, so the reason I wanted to talk to you today is because I had the pleasure of meeting you for the first time on Rising last week. You were brought on, the producers reached out to you to come and talk about some of the discourse that's been going around about Andrew Tate and this crisis of masculinity that seems to have been an ongoing problem and trend for some years now. The rise of popular internet figures like Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate as reflective of some deficit in society more broadly that is leading to both these YouTube figures and also a lot of kind of dangerous socially maladaptive behavior offline, I would say, and whether or not the left has met the moment in the same way that the right has in terms of offering an off-ramp to people who feel perhaps...
For those who have never heard of her, everything Vaush said was right. This person is one of the most bad faith, disgusting, destructive people on the left. Unsurprisingly, she, along with some other crazy radicals spun out of the Bernie Sanders universe, I think she was his online comms manager, his head of online communications, I think. Or no, I'm sorry, people are saying press secretary. I thought it was just online press secretary. Maybe it was overall press secretary, I'm not sure. But yeah, she's just horrible, just atrocious. Yeah, yikes.
Disillusioned by society, etc. And what people noted after our interview was that there had been this history of you having had some substantive criticisms of me online, and it felt odd to folks that we had...
Destiny, I thought it was kind of weird yesterday. XC going through all the Bruce clips, didn't mention anything about race until he pulled up your clip, then criticized you bringing up race. Wait, XQC criticized me bringing up race? When Bruce was being racist? No shot.
Never actually talked about it before we were kind of in this public setting, talking very cordially. Joining us now to discuss
Deep Space,
is YouTuber Vaush.
Science 3, have many more science numbers. Does he have... Oh, sorry. Okay.
Welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here. How y'all doing?
We're doing all right. And I was impressed by your professionalism and decorum in that context, and I thought that you might be a good person to actually be able to have it out with and discuss some of our substantive disagreements and also anything else you want to talk about today. How does that sound?
Oh, sure. Look, I love arguing with folks, but the masculinity Andrew Tate business, it's pretty serious. I think it's important to take the opportunities you can to talk about it. Plus, there's just no fun in getting off in the head every time you're, in the same Zoom call as someone just because you've argued online. If folks did that, there'd be no way for anyone to do any kind of collaboration the way things are these days.
I agree. And Vaush, I gotta say, I don't see us as having really argued online. I have, become aware over the years.
Why does he talk like this? It's just, I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
Of a number of, critical videos you've done about me. You, I believe, took offense to a radar that I did about defunding the FBI.
No matter what she personally believes, she covers for fascists.
Ooh.
We were on opposite sides of the force the vote conversation.
The specific force the vote movement was one of the most blatant grifts that got passed as left-leaning activism in the past several years.
And I'm sure there's been some other things over the years, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. What would you describe as your kind of substantive disagreement with me or my political approach?
Oh, I wish I'd written a list. I've got such a bad memory.
Wait, you're getting invited to a show, Vaush. How do you not have examples ready? You know this was set up at least like 3 or 4 days in advance. Vaush. Can you please tell us some of the things she says or believes in? She believes in every far left, dumb, fucking mind rot conspiracy you can believe in. So she's probably, I'm pretty sure she was full on defund all the police and do community policing. She had that defund the FBI thing. She believed in the force the vote movement, that progressives should try to go out and force a vote on Medicare for all, like it would be like a power play, despite the fact that it would just destroy any hope of any kind of healthcare reform in the United States. It was always going to fail miserably. They believe that the Justice Dems are sellout fucking losers because they're not trying to fucking push for hardcore socialist communist policies, even though there were only 4 of them in there's only 4 of them in the House. She believed that $25 an hour minimum wage is the floor, that 15 an hour is still a slave. Like, she's just insane. She's so far left and destructive on every issue. She's one of those crazy leftists. I can't believe you didn't have anything written down, though. There are so many things to rake this dumb fuck over the coals for. Jesus.
Look, the gist of it is this.
I didn't even research her that much. I guarantee you, I don't know because I haven't seen it, but I guarantee you she's anti-Ukraine. Briahna, Joy, Gray, Ukraine, Russia. Maybe I'm wrong here. Let's see.
They're stealing Ukrainian children. 500 just yesterday were shipped to Russia. And this is why we should be supporting them. We cannot allow this kind of evil to go unchecked, just on a basic moral reason. I mean, don't you agree
Look at the eyes. She's rolling her eyes. Oh my God.
with that?
I'm sorry, I don't. And here's
Okay,
why.
Why?
There are gangs that have overtaken Haiti. There is a cholera pandemic that was started by the UN. UN members, Haitians. A third of Pakistan was underwater. Should we go, due to the climate crisis, should we go and invade China because Uyghurs are in concentration camps? Tell me, articulate. And this is the question that I asked Matt Duss when this war first started. Until you can articulate to me what the rationale is behind where America intervenes and where it doesn't, and give me some kind of moral accounting that makes me believe that it's actually about moral commitments and realizing how much of our money and our resources in the richest country.
There's like,
incredibly dangerous. I don't think in Ukraine, and I think that's not.
I can't speed these videos up, so I don't want to listen. But yeah, there's so much to go at her for. I hope Vaush doesn't just roll over this whole conversation.
And, we're all, not everyone's going to agree on every part of this. Some disagreement is natural. But I've noticed a tendency across the left where, as a reaction to the idea that softness and identity politics has...
Is he doing this thing with his... Is he trying to do this thing with his voice where he makes everything sound as deep as possible? Is this intentional or?
In some way weaken the left.
Did he just wake up or?
Movement, the left coalition. I see some people who are moving towards this, well, the right and the left both have the same fundamentally, valid critique of society, which is to say that there are elites in charge who have an undue and inordinate amount of power, and that the best way to challenge those systems is with a kind of like radical populist movement that is left-leaning but can reach out to the right. Principally, I don't disagree with this. It's definitely possible to take right populism against economic elites and turn it in the right direction. Sometimes they're just mad about Jews. Really a coin flip on that one. Notice sometimes this discourse sort of spirals off and sends people in a bad direction. I've criticized Jimmy Dore plenty because I feel like he's one of the poster children for this particular
What are your
movement.
criticisms
To
of
the point now
her?
He's just a Republican, indistinguishable in every way. If I had any criticisms of your takes, they'd probably be somewhere in the line of that vein. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? This tendency, this line that's been drawn.
Yeah, I've heard people make that criticism, but I'm often confused as to
Vaush is just allergic to preparation.
why people make that criticism of me. So, for example, I know that you did an extended video on my Marjorie Taylor Greene is right radar, right? Which was an argument attempting to, with a provocative title and framing, say, hey, conservatives, not conservative leadership, I want to make sure that we make a distinction between, we're talking about Republicans or conservative voters versus Republican or conservative politicos who I think are often acting in bad faith, whereas some voters have a good faith interest in a lot of these issues where there's overlap between the left and the right, but are being drawn to the right because they don't see space for it on the left. I just want to be clear. I'm not giving any credence to what Marjorie Taylor Greene as a person is saying. But in the context of that radar, I'm saying, okay, let's acknowledge that for once, the right is adopting a position that has long belonged to the left, that these deep state institutions have historically over-targeted the left and progressive movements, whether it's the Black Panthers, whether it's communist and socialist movements in the first half of this century. And let's make sure that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is not a good faith actor, who is buffoonish in her takes and in her politics and in her behavior, let's not let her be the one that owns the space. Let's use this opportunity, this opening that Republicans have said.
Damn, I'd ban for comments like this. Yeah, Vaush and his little bitch boy ass always comes up with the same cat boy ass excuse. Ooh, I don't really message first guys, so I'm just a really shy cat boy. I can't help it.
Set up to actually advocate for the kinds of reforms to these institutions that the left has always wanted.
Imagine how much connection he would have to other debate things if he wouldn't have fucking trashed me so hard. Could be duo debating on Fresh and Fit.
To have. Let's take this moment and write it in our own image instead of completely abdicating our voice in this space. And I was really clear in that radar. I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. What she's fighting for is stupid. She just wants to insulate Donald Trump. I say all of these things repeatedly. I say repeatedly that the right is not the answer, that people should not vote Republican, that I vote independent, that I would never vote Republican. And yet, despite what I feel to be, an almost exhausting level of caveating, inevitably there's someone who pipes up and says, oh, Briahna Joy Gray is running cover for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think I called her, I forget what epithet I called her in the course of the radar, but
some kind
it wasn't
of racial
nice.
slur, no doubt.
LOL. But you know what I mean, Vaush. So
Why
what
did
do
he
you
do
say to
this?
that?
Well, I remember that. This was the FBI discourse.
Mm-hmm.
It just, in the terms of Marjorie Taylor Greene and the,
No
broken
doubt.
clock being right twice a day thing, it reminds me a little bit of like a Holocaust denier who, will briefly acknowledge the existence of the Holocaust only when comparing it to, COVID lockdowns or something, right? Very marginal, very narrow.
I think I could be wrong because it's always hard to evaluate. One, because the sample size is very small, and two, because it's obviously I'm personally involved. I feel like one of my best, I feel like something that I've done really well, I guess I kind of have to be streaming for 12 years, is I feel like I'm really good at adapting to whatever like current environments, current trends, and current strains of thought are. So like if you watch me now, what I'm talking about and how I'm talking and my positions have like evolved over time to maintain some kind of relevancy to current events. Sometimes when I watch Vaush, sometimes I feel like I've stepped into a time capsule and I'm listening to somebody talk in like 2018. So like like when I listen to people start talking about like crypto fascism and like the alt-right and dog whistling, and I'm like, you guys are stuck in the days where like Fuentes and Stefan Molyneux and Lawrence Southern and JF Gary, when these guys were like kind of the ones blowing up online, but like this isn't really what people are talking about anymore. This isn't like relevant. Sometimes, when I listen to them talk, it feels like I'm stepping into a time capsule, and it's like, how long can you carry on with the exact same political messaging, like when the other side isn't even adapting it anymore, right? They've moved on from this. I don't know.
So I'm going to take the correct sort of framing on an issue for just a second, so it allows me to take, an awful take. Because I don't think, and you've said this, right? I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene really has an issue with the oh my goodness, sorry, it's so early.
How is excusing?
Oh, he did just wake up. That might be why his voice. Okay, hold on. Sorry. We got new Moo Kitty video, okay? This is our queen.
Risking losing 50% of his 50 million net worth, even though he's not married. Well, it's all because of his ex. She had the exact opportunity to be a successful streamer. She had the XP boost of being together with the biggest streamer in the world. She had access to X credit card and had all resources to make good videos. But she became an RP streamer without a camera. After the public breakup with XQC in September,
Why do you like
she
this video?
realized-
I don't know. It's just, this is like some post, not apocalyptic dystopia. It's just so weird. Like the girl with the broken accent. It almost feels like an Eastern European girl brought in to read a script that some guy made, like that was AI generated with memes from. I don't know. It's just so surreal. These videos are so surreal. I don't know how to explain it.
up with XQC in September, she realized her future was done. She's been living the dream life all these years, not having the need to pay for
Guys, we need to save XQC. He can't talk, so I'm going to. It's just so, I don't know what to...
anything. She had to choose between two options: going back to having a normal life and job, or backstab the person that's been by her side for years and always providing her with everything she needed, especially food, to never have to work again. So she sued him for common law marriage. What is common law marriage? Common law marriage, in short, is a type of marriage that occurs without a legal marriage sophistication. In Texas, common law marriage has the same standing as a real marriage. However, in order for it to become a common law marriage, certain criteria has to be made, like both partners must agree to be married, both partners must live together as a married couple, both partners must present themselves to the public as a married couple. If this is met, everything during the relationship is considered to be owned by both, and all the assets will be divided like a real divorce. Why would she do this? She chose to destroy her whole reputation as a human being to never have to work again. Because this is the last and only way she can squeeze out the money and never have to work a single day again and have generational wealth.
A destiny this guy cannot elaborate on anything without sounding insanely pretentious. I've met plenty of these pseudo-academic types. I'm a med student, and they will never reach a broader audience. He argues from an ivory tower.
True. Hashtag justice for XQC.
The FBI or institutional power. It's really just a matter of where it's being used. And I'm kind of curious about the way it's, kind of taken shape in this discourse too, because I don't really have an issue with the way the FBI has been behaving with regards to like the
January 6th,
the raid on Mar-a-Lago or any of the recent investigation stuff since the Trump administration. I mean, it's still the FBI, right? Not exactly an ally of the left, but broadly as an institution of the state, as the feds. They're doing, it seems,
Mar-a-Lago close enough.
Relatively upstanding job, certainly compared to what they've done in the past. I worry about fomenting any kind of opposition to them now in the context of how the right sees them as being, if you accept the FBI as bad broadly, you're kind of giving leeway to the right there to make invalid criticisms against their behavior.
Oh, God. I also have this issue where it's just driving me crazy. I don't know what it is. This is one of the reasons why I like talking to that Ayla girl, is because she speaks quickly. It's not just about speaking quickly, though. When people take a long time to say something that they could have said in, 1/10 the words, please, there is a beauty in brevity. Be brevicious. That's not a word. But oh God, when people say so many words, why say so many word when few word do just fine? Jesus.
Legitimately stuff they've done.
So I think that's a perfectly legitimate argument, which is why, literally in the context of that radar, I said,
wow, Phoenix,
part
welcome
of the
to the Tier 5
issue
Supper Clubber.
is that elites want to change institutions when they start to hold elites accountable. And that historically, the FBI and these kinds of deep state, for lack of a better word, institutions have been used to run cover for elites. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So regardless of how you feel about Mar-a-Lago, whether was a political raid, and of course, there's all of this stuff going on now with Biden and whether or not he's being treated similarly or differently and a whole other quagmire. But regardless of whether you feel like Trump is being unfairly persecuted by the FBI or not, the left knows how it feels about the FBI. And why not let the left make its claims about how the left FBI should be reformed in a progressive way? If you have concerns about the right only using this issue of FBI reform as a way to insulate Donald Trump. And I find that a lot of conservatives in the rising audience, for instance, are very hostile to the idea that a powerful institution would be weaponized to defend the rich but attack the poor, or even attack the left and attack the otherwise marginal. And they are open to that argument. And they, in fact, were very receptive to that argument in the comments of that video and elsewhere online. And so, again, I wonder what you make of that. I feel like that's a legitimate point that you made and one that I addressed in the context of the radar. So why the kind of hostility about the radar in particular?
Well, because of the framing, which, to be fair, you kind of did right there, right? The Mar-a-Lago thing and the Biden thing ain't really comparable. The raid on Mar-a-Lago was because Trump had failed to comply with pre-existing demands to turn over the material. Seems like Biden just, dropped spaghetti out of his pockets and left a bunch of documents everywhere. Stupid, no defending it, but not really federal raid territory.
No, I don't think they're comparable, and that's why Biden wasn't raided. I do think that because Biden took the position when the Trump documents were outstanding, that it was deeply irresponsible for a president to have been in this position, that I think he said something like, no one should ever be president who is so irresponsible with documents. And now here he is, obviously in the exact same situation.
What were Biden's comments exactly? I'm never going to let Pisco gaslight me on this. And also, this might be my bias from like dating people or being with people that have had like security clearances and stuff. Like, you shouldn't let stuff get out of your office. Like, that should never happen. But like, sometimes it does. And whether or not, like, that was part of the thing with Hillary Clinton and the emails. Remember, where Comey's statement was that there was a general, highly lax policy in the State Department when it came to handling classified materials. And a lot of people were being kind of dumb, like taking shit where they shouldn't have, emailing shit they shouldn't have. Not to say that it's good or bad. I agree that it's like bad, you shouldn't be doing it. But that people get careless and as old people and like dumb shit happens or whatever. I'm curious what Biden's comments specifically were about Donald Trump.
So I do think Biden set himself up.
Did you see that Pence had classified documents too? It wouldn't surprise me if almost every single high-ranking member had some piece of classified material that they shouldn't have had in some place that it didn't belong. It wouldn't surprise me if almost every single one did, right? Like, yeah, it just wouldn't surprise me. Sometimes stuff gets retroactively classified. There are certain facilities where every document coming out of them is classified automatically. There's just like, yeah.
For a number of comparisons and claims being made about his fitness because of overreaching with the Trump argument.
However, I totally get it. You know, I'll tell you a secret. I voted for Bernie during the primaries, not Biden.
Yeah, I'm aware, but you did vote for.
Have you been briefed, sir, on the top secret documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago?
No.
No one has come to you to warn you that important national security secrets were revealed by the storage of those documents at the former president's home?
I have not personally spoken to anyone in that regard. I'm sure my administration is aware of all of that, and so is the National Security Council, but I have not.
Were you notified of the FBI's execution of a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago?
No, not ahead of time.
The FBI spread the documents out on the floor to make a record of what was found. When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen, how anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that I mean names of people who helped, et cetera. And it's just totally irresponsible.
And you don't know what was in those documents?
I have not asked for the specifics of those documents because I don't want to get myself in the middle of whether or not the Justice Department should move or not move on certain actions they can take. I've agreed I would not tell them what to do and not, in fact, engage in telling them how to prosecute or not.
If you want to read it uncharitably, which every single conservative and everybody will do because that's what everyone wants to do, then you could say, yeah, he shouldn't. He probably is too strong on saying that like classified documents being outside is totally whatever. Yeah, maybe he should have stopped his language. If you want to read it somewhat charitably, even reasonably, I still think the idea that Trump had boxes and boxes of classified material locked in a storage room is, I think, meaningfully different than somebody that has a few pages of classified stuff mixed in with like other folders. I still think it's meaningfully different, but I think that whatever you think about that is already set in stone. Your mind will never be changed on it. So,
for Joe Biden during the general election, and you advocated for people to do so, which is perfectly fine. But I do believe that's another point of contention that you've had with me, that you perceive.
Now the quantity matters. Yes, of course, the quantity matters. Why would you say something so stupid? If somebody took a folder home of shit and they had like a page or something that was supposed to be classified mixed into their stuff versus somebody that has a box of classified material locked in a room somewhere, yeah, of course the quantity is going to be meaningfully different. Or it's going to change the way that you evaluate those two cases. I don't believe that you're even asking that conversation. You're not asking that in good faith because you know the answer to that is yes, but you're like so politically set in one way that you're not, nothing's going to convince you otherwise, which is fine. This is not an argument I could have anymore. If this is like a partisan answer, people believe one thing because it's political and that's it. If the Mar-a-Lago stuff would have happened with Hillary Clinton, you guys would have lost your fucking mind. Like that's a fact. If it would have been that Hillary Clinton in her house had a locked fucking room with a box and box of classified documents, it would be. How long did you guys fucking obsess over the Hillary Clinton email shit? Like fucking what, over a year? Like yeah, you guys would be losing your mind.
You disagreed with my hesitation to endorse Biden so quickly and my demand that the left hold out, and including Bernie, hold out a little longer in the endorsement process until he had gotten something more in the line of concrete concessions from Joe Biden.
Yeah, I'm happy to hit to that. But with regards to the document thing, you said that the the question, he went so hard on the Mar-a-Lago raid thing, Biden, and then it turns out, he's got these docs around. I agree, this is a political, falter on his part for sure. It doesn't really speak to the FBI though. I wanted to ask though, specifically, because when the cons are talking about the FBI, they're usually criticizing them for behavior I think is just and warranted, like the Mueller investigation, for all the fun and fireworks that turned out to be. In principle, I get it, much in the same way that the whole Russiagate business ended up turning up some pretty interesting info, indictments and knowledge, and how the Russian government was making a cat run out of there. Silly. The Russian government was making a good effort to, lean on the scales however they could. It seems like, at least at the moment, I don't really know what you mean when you say reforms to the FBI. What does that mean? Because when MTG says it, she means like, don't go after cons ever. So like, what reform are we like looking for here?
Well, to be frank, what MTG was advocating for was abolishing the FBI. That's what was trending. That's the phraseology that people were using, abolish the FBI. And I'm of the mind that given the historical, I believe in the radar, I mentioned that 85%, I think it was, of all FBI investigations, wiretapping, assassinations, all of the things that it's done, have targeted the left. So on balance, do I care about the Mueller investigation or a raid in Mar-a-Lago as compared to the murder of civil rights leaders and the wiretapping of everybody from Martin Luther King to Elvis? No, I would happily abolish the FBI. So that's top level. If people are making that argument, even if it means incidentally that there are some, let's say, legitimate investigations that don't occur, I personally, on balance, would be happy with that compromise. Now, that's not a compromise that needs to be made. Any number of institutions exist to investigate errant presidents and the like. The DOJ can continue to exist. This argument is often brought up in the context of, like, let's say, abolish ICE or abolish the police. Abolish the NSA. There have been institutions that have accommodated the needs of those, institutions before those relatively newer versions existed. And I don't think that simply asking for substantive reform or abolishment of one institution means that everyone else gets off the hook, which is, again, why I made it clear in my radar.
Is she smarter than Lance? Yeah, of course. She's
for systemic
decently smart. Yeah, of course. But she's like Lav. She's smart, but she just has all the wrong opinions.
Reform for the purpose of insulating elites against criticism is absolutely the opposite of what we should do. But we should be cognizant of the fact that these institutions are designed and are put in place to do the exact opposite, to protect the elites and target people who are marginalized politically or otherwise. And if the right wants, right?
Why would you give that? Wait, Vaush, if you grant that point that these institutions just exist to marginalize the marginalized, then how can you possibly disagree with her on anything? Then she must be correct that these institutions ought to be abolished, right? You just gave the entire argument. Why would you do that?
Kind of step in it by popularizing the idea of abolish the FBI. And if that movement's going to have some kind of legs, rhetorically or otherwise, if there's going to be a moment for that, why not have people who are much more knowledgeable than I, frankly, design the kinds of reforms that they think would actually be beneficial to the left? And I had some people on the podcast to try to talk about what those reforms would actually be. I think it was Alex Vitale, and then I think I spoke to also Cornel West shortly after to try to pen.
Why doesn't Destiny just debate her? I've reached out in the past and I've gotten nothing. I don't know if she would debate me or not.
On what they would advocate for in terms of substantive reforms to the FBI and whether they thought that this was a moment that the left should be pushing. And while I think that Cornel West did agree that this was something that we could politicize and take over if we wanted to, I think very few people were willing, or maybe we just hadn't put enough thought in it because it's, a new moment, and to what constructively, or concretely rather, that would look like. But I think it's a conversation the left should be having, right? That's a conversation that people, yeah, go ahead.
That's my issue, right? Alex and Cornell aren't the people with their hands on the levers. The right is, or at least potentially could be,
Well, what do you mean by that?
I mean that right now, we talk about material conditions. The historical context of this discussion, abolish the FBI. This is not one in which we're having a level-minded conversation about the exact ways in which to reform the institution.
I agree, but that's exactly what I'm pushing for.
No, well, but hold on. But it ain't happening. You know,
Right, but why isn't it happening, Vaush?
Well, this is the same issue I had with endorsing Biden. There isn't a third option. You've got exactly two in this case.
Well, there was a third option, and I know that because I voted for the third option.
Well, no,
yes.
in the general election, not in the primary.
Yeah, no, in the general election, I voted third party.
Right, like I said, there were two options. Two options that can happen. Well, hold on. I've never really given a damn about, well, here's a edge case that perfectly represents my virtues or whatever. You've got what you've got. In the case of the FBI,
just to be clear, Vaush, I didn't vote third party because it represents my virtues. I represent third party because, practically speaking, if third parties get, I believe, to 5% of the vote percentage, they get additional funding. It makes it more possible for a third party to get ballot access and to be an actual contender and change that oppressive two-party duopoly reality that we live under today. It's a real thing that can happen if enough people actually do, in fact, vote third party.
I can, and I'm happy to support third
in a way that
parties
throwing my vote away for Joe Biden in Washington, D.C. is actually doing nothing with my vote. So if we're talking about political pragmatism.
He became president.
Right. With or without my vote in Washington, D.C., not even a state, that is the most effective way for me to actually politically represent my interests.
My point here ain't about criticizing your vote. It's that only two people were going to be president, and there are only two real paths to FBI.
No. But those are two different. But Vaush, I want to be really clear here.
Yeah,
you said there were two options. You didn't say at first there's two options for what a presidential outcome was going to be. But my vote is not connected to what I want the presidential outcome to be. There are other political realities that my vote can determine. And it's the same thing with this FBI stuff.
Yeah, Vaush.
I would have loved a world, Vaush, where you and I were having a conversation about, gosh, I know the FBI has done a lot of messed up stuff. And if there's an opening here for the elected representatives to be a part of drafting what new legislation would look like to reform the FBI, we should be pushing for that and making sure that it's written in our image, not a right-winger's image.
Yeah, Vaush.
But instead, now you and I are back and forth on the internet, or at least you are criticizing me on the internet for even wanting to reform the FBI, which seems to me should be a pretty obvious bedrock.
Abolish.
I would also abolish the FBI, which should be a bedrock easy principle for left people to adopt.
I don't think so at all. I think federal police are a fairly necessary institutional force, much in the same way that in our current system we need, municipal police. Though obviously they are a largely harmful institution, you just can't up and abolish them. You need to take the work to put in systems that support the same basic functions and practices.
Vaush, was your response to me that, well, I think that Briahna's going too far in saying that we should.
Well, I ain't gotten
to
my point yet because we keep getting edge cased here. The issue I have, and we don't need to make no analogies to Biden or Trump or whatever. The issue here is that in this historical context, there are only, regardless of whatever paths you support broadly or in the long term, there are two attitudes that are institutionally supported towards the FBI. One of which is the standard boilerplate, let them do what they do, Democrats, whatever, moderates. And then the Republicans who want to abolish it.
What is that
the
noise
issue
in the
that I
background?
have here is that the desire, well, that's true. There's
Wait.
There's no institutional support for moderate reform. There are politicians who don't want to touch the FBI.
That's a tautology.
And politicians who want to abolish it.
You are framing the argument in a limited way. You are defining two choices
The world
and then saying,
is limited.
No. You're defining two choices and then saying there's two choices. Mm-hmm. There is in fact a world where our job on the left,
Blueprint
I believe,
filtering
is to create additional choices. Not to sit around in this doomer. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Around in this doomer zone, saying, "Well, we can't do anything, so let's be angry." Vaush, you called me a subhuman something.
I don't use this because it doesn't exist.
Force the vote fans and Briahna Joy Gray fans are fucking subhuman pieces of shit who are despicable people who are only in it for the aesthetic and for the grift.
You wrote down my insults, but I didn't write anything down. Come on, no fair.
Well, I've never.
How do you not have Vaush? This is probably one of Vaush's biggest debates. I would imagine. There, I made the blueprint correct. Are you happy? It's probably one of Vaush's biggest debates that he's had in a while. I don't know why he wouldn't write anything down for this or prepare at all. You can say I hate Briahna. She stands for everything I stand against, and I think she has the wrong opinions on everything. But she's very smart. I would never call this woman stupid, ever. Well, I might say, oh, she's an idiot, because I disagree with opinion, but she's not stupid, right? If I had a debate against this person, you better believe I'm going to be doing some research, and I'm going to have quotes and shit on standby, because if not, you're going to get roasted. This is a very quick woman. Like, she does this shit all day. She's doing politics like every single day on her show. Of course, she's gonna be ready for like random talking points. Jeez. He has a doesn't anybody have that TikTok of him explaining why he never prepares for debates? It's a bit of hubris, I think, to think that you can just walk in on somebody like this and just be ready to destroy them. Like,
I've never mentioned you in public, Vaush. I've never said anything about you in my entire life.
That's fine. We're both public figures, and we have the right to take shots at each other at our will. But I ain't gotten to the heart of the point here.
But there is no this other, because I haven't. But I just want to make sure you were saying right now that there are two options. I want to be really clear. I don't disagree with you when you say there is no movement on the left to abolish the FBI. In fact, that is the sum total of my criticism. Why is there no movement on the left to abolish or at least reform the FBI? Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene, in the context of a self-interested campaign to protect Donald Trump, the only person who's talking about reforming an institution whose raison d'etre or reform? If you want to reform it, let's talk about reform, Vaush. I'm 100% on board with that.
Well, she's talking about abolition. So were you when I asked you what reforms you'd make.
Well, I Briahna Joy Gray would, but I'm not going to die on this hill. I want in a community with people who are like-minded, Vaush, about what the best strategy forward is. I'm not interested in defending my take. It's just a take. It's just a thought. It's just an idea that I would love to develop. No, I don't want takes, Vaush. I want policy to make the left better. I want to make the world that we live in better. I'm not interested in scoring points on the internet. So if someone comes up to me and says, I have a tweak to your identity, I have a tweak to your philosophy, I have a tweak to your plan, let's develop this in concert with other people who are much more knowledgeable than I say yes and to that, Vaush.
Okay,
I'm not interested in tearing anybody down.
I'm yes-anding you right now. So let's dial it back, because I feel like we've rolled down a very steep hill very quickly. The point that I'm trying to make here is that there are times and places to make certain types of criticisms. Now, whether or not I even agree with the abolition of the FBI bit, it's fundamentally what this strikes to me is like an Andrew Tate fan screaming, Andrew Tate's been arrested on accusations of sex trafficking. Let's abolish the police. He shouldn't be able to be arrested for that. And a lefty stride in saying, oh, you want to abolish the police, do you? Well, maybe that would be a good idea. Now, I understand the temptation of this argument because you're meeting them where they're at. They're interested in this thing. But the truth of the matter is, and the thing that frustrates me is, they're not actually interested in police abolition. They're interested in getting their guy off. And while you think that you're doing our side, polling people interested in getting Donald Trump off.
This is Vaush on debate prep.
How do you prepare for that stuff? Is it just in your brain, and because you read a lot, or do you do any preparation? Like, where do you go to get your information that you feel comfortable sharing with your audience?
No, I never do any preparation beforehand. I mean, I read studies, of course. I watch videos when I'm off stream, but I don't ever prepare for a stream. One of the reasons being that I've always held the position that I think it should be evident that most of the arguments we deal with are so bad that you don't really need to prepare to defeat them. You can usually just a Wikipedia level knowledge of any subject along with basic rhetorical skills is usually enough to handle almost any confrontation you're going to have with people who disagree with you. Obviously, it helps to go further.
I will say something I noticed. It's kind of funny when people say, oh, you just need a Wikipedia. That's true, but that requires study. There's a weird phenomenon that happened where when you referred to somebody with a word that was similar to Wikipedia, they were the smartest person ever. But now it refers to dumb people, right? I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but when I was a kid, when you called somebody really smart, sometimes you would say the phrase, that person has encyclopedic knowledge. That was a compliment. It was like, holy shit, this guy knows about everything. But now having a Wikipedia-ish knowledge is is dumb. If you've memorized everything in Wikipedia, bro, you're probably one of the smartest people on the fucking planet. There's a lot of information on Wikipedia. Holy shit. I don't know. When people say Wikipedia, I think they just refer to reading the first paragraph on a section. Like, Jesus. Oh yeah, this guy's a walking encyclopedia. Yeah.
Further than that, of course, and if I was debating like a professor who I really disagreed with, I'd try to learn more. But for the most part, I think it's important to reinforce the idea that it's very accessible, the ability to disagree with people and come out on top. It's way better to not prepare for anything at all.
Over to broader FBI abolition. I think what you're actually doing is the opposite, which is you're giving the institutional legitimacy of the left's critique of the FBI over to the far right who just want to get Donald Trump off. And I think that's kind of iterating the fact that despite all your caveats and criticisms, MTG still quote tweeted you touting around, oh, look at this lefty former, secretary for Bernie Sanders. Even they agree the FBI has gone too far. And when they're in that mode, they'll take any stance. They'll say, oh yeah, they killed
This is
Dr.
noise.
King. They killed Fred Hampton,
Is Slender Man coming?
And then they'll run with that as a specific part of their program to get their fascist wannabe dictator off investigations and charges. But I don't think it does much to support real criticism of the FBI. I think it taints criticism of the FBI because it associates them with this insane MAGA, hysteria. I think it worsens our arguments because it connects us and emboldens them to their argument.
So what arguments are the left? You mentioned that this is the wrong time. Is there a movement separate and apart from the conservative movement that is at all vocalizing any interest in reforming the FBI in any way?
I don't even know what reforms we're talking about here. What are we looking to do exactly? Because I don't know if I'd agree with that. I admit, the abolition thing's complicated. You can go a lot of roads with that. But in terms of reform, maybe, if you could bite into something a bit more moderate, what would you do exactly? Are we talking about more public warrant approval procedures on the part of judges, or pullbacks on what they can do to get wiretaps on, or what would you do exactly?
I think that it's remarkable that in 20 seconds of applying yourself to considering what reforms would be beneficial to the left, you came up with two that sound really good.
I'm fine with those. The right's not, though.
But however, there's been absolutely no interest in or any conversation in the least about that on the left. So here's my thought. I completely agree that Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of these right-wing figures are operating in bad faith, but they deny it, right? So what better way to demonstrate that their argument about abolishing the FBI is complete fluff that's only being used to insulate Donald Trump, one of the most elite people in the world as a former president of the United States, other than actually doing what they have not done, which is promulgating legislation from the left, for the left, that actually would be substantive reforms, the kinds of which I think would appeal to a right audience, a conservative-leaning audience, even if it would miff the elected Republicans who, of course, have bad faith interests in this
How would that own
position.
them, though? Wouldn't they want that? They don't like the FBI. That's just doing what they want.
But wait a minute. If the left drafts left legislation that would reform the FBI in ways that benefit the left, and the right adopts it and votes for it and passes it, I hate to break it to you, but that's called a win. That's a good thing that just happened.
Would it prevent the FBI from continuing their investigation into Donald Trump, or would it be substantive reforms?
Vaush, it's drafted by the left. So, no, of course not. The left, I presume, it could be whatever they want it to be.
The left does silly things all the time, I'm not staking any claims here on their trustworthiness.
The Democratic Party that just spent the entire last 2 years making their entire identity about 1-6 and impeaching Trump for a million, over and over and over again, and 1-6 commissions and all of that, is not going to do anything that absolves Trump from responsibility, nor do I think they should, although they should have the appearance of not having a witch hunt, because I think that hurts them politically, and there's no need for any of that. If he's guilty, what he's guilty of, he's guilty of. And what he's not, he's not.
If reform is put forward that does not in any way impede the investigation of Donald Trump, if it's a sensible FBI reform, the Republicans will just call it woke. They'll not vote in it, and none of their voters.
Exactly. So here we are. This is what I believe are the two options that exist. The left puts forward good faith legislation that would address some of the legitimate concerns that are being raised by the right about the FBI, not insulate Donald Trump from criticism,
What
and
concerns?
The FBI has spent the last 100 years of existence
Killing
growing
civil
its
rights and
power
blah, blah, blah.
and growing its reach. There is, I think, a perfectly legitimate argument about various aspects of the way that the Department of Justice and the FBI have focused on Donald Trump and some
Like what?
inequities.
Well, I thought you just said this legislation wouldn't do anything.
Well, that's my whole point. So why are you asking about that, Vaush?
Well, wait. Then why'd you just say? But you just said that though. You were just like, okay, well, address some of the rights concerns.
I think it's fair. I think that some combination of the media's behavior and the FBI's behavior, it's obviously, even when people do bad things, they can be politically motivated in their approach. I think it's perfectly possible.
What Vaush needed to do, because she's kind of right. She's kind of right, but the problem is that Vaush doesn't have like a real position here. Like, her position is allowed to be vague because Vaush doesn't have any specifics. If Because when she's like, we need to reform the whatever. Okay, yeah, like everything can be reformed. But like, what specific reforms is she asking for? And now they're arguing some ideological point on whether or not, like, should we do reforms that Republicans like that we want too? But they're not even discussing anything in particular. I don't know how, Vaush, you have to come with like, what specifically do you want to talk about? Otherwise, you're just gonna get caught up in this like random shit now. I don't understand.
I don't know, right? Like,
Well,
I don't know.
wait, now we're doing the narrative. Wait,
let me finish the
narrative.
sentence. You just asked me, Vaush. Let me finish the sentence. I don't know, so that's why I don't want to opine. But I'm not trying to opine on, for example, whether or not this narrative that's out there that the FBI held up the making public that Joe Biden had these outstanding documents until after the midterms because they didn't want to hurt Democrats. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not interested in promulgating that narrative. But I think that it's completely possible that there was some legitimacy in terms of the targeted nature of those attacks. If there's not, then great. Then there's nothing.
Now this is their narrative now.
But look, here's the point, Vaush. Ignore all of that. The point is that you get to design. You keep creating. Here's what's so interesting. You keep coming up with versions of legislation you don't like, when the reality is this is an opportunity to come up with the exact legislation you do like, for the left to be advocating for whatever it is. You don't want to abolish, I do want to abolish.
My congressman?
Whatever you want to do is what we should be advocating for, is my belief, progressives to actually take up and run with.
The slight power that I have is over discourse, not policy.
I'm not talking about you literally, Vaush, obviously. I'm talking about what we push elected officials to do.
I understand that. But notice how the rhetoric is shifted, right? Always little bits of it pop up. What we're talking about right now, the left constructing criticisms of the FBI in the form of policy and legislation, that has nothing to do with giving the right accolades on getting a broken clock, twice as right kind of deal, on criticizing the FBI, nor on pulling people from the right over, nor on meeting some of their legitimate criticisms of the FBI, of which they have only one, by the way, which is the fact that the FBI doesn't work for them. Now we're just talking about crafting policy to reform the police. The FBI are police, after all, fundamentally, and I've always supported reforming the police in many ways. But notice how now we're talking about something reasonable, which is, hey, the federal police are, as many police institutions, rather corrupt and
I hate to break it to you, but there's a part of this community that has been talking about something reasonable the entire time. And your reluctance to participate in that is a choice, and that's completely fine. But there's some of us who have said, we were very
doing what Marjorie Taylor Greene wants by abolishing the FBI and giving them accolades and saying they have legitimate criticism and saying the FBI might have been politically motivated when they have Trump. No, you slip in like these narratives here, right?
I think that
which aren't necessary when criticizing the FBI in like a formative
You
way.
obviously like the FBI a lot more. Like, you're not going to convince me to not want to abolish the FBI. So I don't even think we should go down that road.
See, well then at the end of the day, all you want to do is what she wants to do, and such. You're prattling about it. It's meaningless. You just want to do. Wait, no.
I don't think I'm prattling about anything. This is my show, and I'd like you to offer me a modicum of respect here, Vaush.
We're both prattling. It's okay. It's fine. Prattling is fine. It's a free country. But
no,
at the end
it's
of the
not.
day,
I think that's disrespectful. And I've been in the background of all of this.
We're both grown-ups
wait a minute.
here. It's fine.
Oh my God, Vaush.
In the background of all of this is you are sitting here in a way that is, in the background is I've been trying to downplay. I've been trying not to emphasize what exactly your response to my radar has actually been. The reality is you called me a subhuman piece of shit as a consequence of what I think is, you just characterized as a reasonable conversation about reforming the FBI.
I don't think I called you that over that.
Wait a minute. I completely respect that you don't want to abolish the FBI. I don't care. We have a difference of opinion there. I don't think it's worth calling anybody
Vaush's cum guzzler moment.
Any ad hominem attacks. But my point is this. If all you are willing to get to, if all the place where you're comfortable is to say, wow, in this moment, it would be nice if left progressives or Democrats in Congress were advocating for the kinds of reforms that they think are valuable in this moment, to provide a meaningful contrast to the kind of self-interested, elite-protecting reforms that Marjorie Taylor Greene is going for. Wow, I should advocate for that. And to the extent that I think that Briahna is not advocating for that, I can say, well, I think that Briahna needs to have a more focused message. I think that Briahna is going too far, but I would advocate for this. And it is frustrating to me. I do agree with Briahna that it's frustrating to me that the left Congress members have nothing to say about any of this when they spent years talking about defunding the police, defunding ICE, and having this institutional critique. Where are they in this moment?
Well, I'm not saying
But that's not what happens. Yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah, what
Well,
are you
I'm
saying,
saying
Vaush?
at the end of the day, you can dress it up as much as you want, but a fascist said that she wants to get rid of investigative body that's investigating her corrupt dictator pick, and your answer to that was yes, but for woke reasons. And that framing will always be something that I take
Woke
issue
reasons?
with. It doesn't matter how sincere or legitimate the criticisms are. There are times when you have to understand that the material course of history is guiding your country in a direction where you're going to have to focus on other priorities. Like, it's with the police thing, right? We're in a very dangerous position in this country right now. Democracy might not last here, nobody can see the future, but it seems like Republicans are pretty openly anti-democracy at this point. They've been working hard to get rid of it on whatever level they're capable of. And reforming the FBI, that's fine, depending on how it's done, if it's reasonable.
I love
but
this background
the
noise.
narratives,
Very horror movie, yes.
addressing the right's reasonable criticisms. They have only one, and it's that the FBI don't work for them. Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene happened to be right in this one. No, she wasn't. She doesn't give a shit about what the FBI has done. Neither do any of her followers. You're not going to own any of them or show them up by giving them a better version of the legislation. They'll say it's woke and they'll toss it in the trash.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that, Vaush. I think that I know for a fact that many of her followers actually do agree with me. I know for a fact.
When you say abolish the FBI, the exact thing that she said.
Yeah, I know for a fact that many of her followers agree with me on 2 important points. That the FBI is an institution with an enormous power that has been used poorly to target people who are historically
The rocket's not being
vulnerable,
symmetrical.
including
It is
people
symmetrical.
like
What are you
them,
talking
because they're
about?
Low income and things like that. And additionally, I think that they agree that it should not be an institution that exclusively protects elites. And I think that that's a good place to work from, and a much more useful place
Their framing
than sitting
on
around.
that is totally
But
conservative
wait a minute.
biased.
Let's talk about your framing, Vaush, because you just accused me of
being subhuman.
wanting to do what Marjorie Taylor Greene wants. But
By your
woke,
words, you both wanted to abolish the FBI,
if I could just
right?
finish the sentence.
Am I
You
wrong?
accused me of doing. You just said that you want to do. I want to do what Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to do, but for woke stuff. So I want to ask you: is not wanting civil rights leaders, of not wanting Fred Hampton to be murdered, woke?
Can you go back in time and keep him from being murdered? Because if so, goddamn.
Is that what you think that I'm advocating for, or could there be some prospective value in protecting people who are oppositional to the government and making sure that the FBI's powers are restrained?
The Republicans will not do this. The Republicans have no interest in restraining the power of the FBI other than curtailing it and using it for their own.
This is such an important point. I think that is actually what defines why there are these 2 halves of the left that exist right now. There is one half of the left that I think is really exemplified by the statement that you just made, which is that the right won't do this. Or sometimes you'll say things like, Democrats won't do this. And the entire political discourse is limited by what you believe the pre-existing actors in place are willing to do, which means at no point is there any conversation, even
Or is
in
it not
loose,
symmetrical?
ridiculous
You
kind
guys
of
are lying.
podcasty
Fuck off.
format.
It is symmetrical.
At no point in academic spaces and political
Or unless you're saying that like it's a little bit over too far to the right. Oh, from the entire ship. Yeah, that might be true. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the rocket layout. Jesus. Okay.
spaces and media
That's
spaces,
what I'm focused on right now.
is there any place to germinate ideas that have the power to actually push the Overton window in any way?
Absolutely.
And I think that's really destructive. And you don't have to agree.
No, there is. But you don't got to jump on a fascist trying to protect their strongman in order to make those points. Because all you're doing is legitimizing and giving left approval credence to them. Same thing Donald Trump did back in 2015, by the way, talked about how the DNC was screwing over Bernie. That wasn't him, and some lefties bought this. That wasn't him sincerely criticizing the corruption of the DNC. That was him, trying to, get a bite of lefty legitimacy as a maverick who could criticize
I
powerful
love that
institutions.
example, Vaush, because the man won. The man became president of the United States of America because that message resonated, rightly or wrongly, bad faith or good. So if
has he addressed corruption in the political institution?
No, but I'm not Donald Trump. It's the reverse situation, Vaush. It's me saying to a conservative audience, hey, there's some legitimacy. Yes, I believe there's some legitimacy to your concerns here. Just like we opened this conversation talking about...
No, there isn't, because their concern is that Donald Trump...
Wait a minute.
Just like we opened this conversation talking about how there's legitimacy to a lot of these men who have moved to the right because they feel like the social contract has failed them. They don't have a place in society anymore. They have leaned into a kind of misogyny because they don't have traditional gender roles to conform to and feel lost and lonely. I don't think the misogyny is okay. I don't think Andrew Tate is okay. I don't think rape is okay. I don't think any of that is okay.
I'm anti-rape
There's
too,
an
guys.
underlying there.
I don't open that discourse by looking at Andrew Tate going on about how he thinks society has failed men because you can't rape women for free anymore, and go, hey, he's right on this. Not about all of it, mind you, but he is correct in that society has failed men, and then take it from there.
I don't know
what you're doing. I
but wait a
agree
minute.
you have to reach these
stay there,
people where
Vaush.
they are.
Stay
but you
stay
can't
there.
take their bad faith message and go.
Stay there. Stay there for a second. Stay there.
Stay there, Vaush.
I don't know what Andrew Tate has said. I've never listened to Andrew Tate speaking.
I got in the ballpark.
But if Andrew Tate has said something like a sentence like, I don't think there's a place for men in society anymore, I think it's 100% legitimate to say, look, I disagree with everything that Andrew Tate stands for. I think that he is normalizing rape and violence against women, and that's disgusting, and he'll probably be criminally liable for it. However, of course it's true to your audience, and then including people who are like 13 years old, that there is a kind of a crisis of masculinity happening, and I think there are some interesting solutions over here on the left. Why don't you come join me and talk about them?
But your
I think
solution
that's
is the same
absolutely
as Marjorie
legitimate.
Taylor Greene's solution: abolish the FBI.
I'm a little confused, Vaush, because
You're doing her work for her, right?
I don't know how many times I can say this. Because
do you want to abolish the FBI or not?
I, Briahna Joy Gray, think that that's a perfectly legitimate solution. One that, by the way, I could be moved on with people who are knowledgeable about what parts of the institution should stay in place, what preserve a certain function that I might agree is useful, etc. Because I claim to be no expert on the entire workings of the FBI as an institution.
That's fine.
However,
it's complicated.
But Vaush, it almost doesn't matter, because what I have said to you now repeatedly is that whatever version of FBI reform that you support, right? Because abolish the police, there's a whole lot of things in there that a lot of different people believe. Some people think it's not really abolishment if you're replacing it with this other institution that you can call the police or not call the police, but has a very different function and different funding and different framing and all of those kinds of things. But the point is, this was an opportunity for substantial reform, whether or not you want it to be quote unquote abolished or not.
It's not an opportunity for substantial reform.
Oh my God.
And it was an
Vaush.
opportunity for liberals, leftists, whomever in Congress who are elected to call Marjorie Taylor Greene's bluff and say this is actually populist legislation that protects vulnerable people against the overreaches of the government. This is what you're purporting to want. And if you actually believe in it, sign on to this legislation. And when she doesn't,
we gotta get to the heart of this.
And when she doesn't, I'm like 6 words away from the end of this sentence.
Okay, we're at the end. Okay, we're at the goal.
Jesus.
And when she doesn't, that's the opportunity to call her bluff.
Okay, you can't call their bluff. We've been doing this for decades.
We literally haven't.
The Republican, no, you will. The Democrats have. That's how easy it is.
No, they haven't.
No, they have been. Because the Republicans will talk about any manner of emboldening or empowering the American people, or helping the American people get more change in their pockets, or lowering taxes or anything. And every single time the Democrats do anything that would objectively improve the lives of the working class, the Republicans go, this is woke, and don't pass it. Oh, any climate change reform? That's woke. Anything having to do with green energy? That's woke. Anything having to do with like unions or health?
Oh my God. How mad are investoids in chat gonna be when by some miracle my meta buy was actually just perfectly timed? How mad are they gonna be when my meta stock comes all the way back from my 1-year sale? What did I buy at? Oh my God, they're just gonna be so f***ing mad. They're gonna be so mad, guys. Wait, how do I see my, you're holding latest trade? Wait, why doesn't it tell me my history of buy and sell? Oh, wait. No. Did Vanguard change their shit? What the fuck? Go to holding summary. I feel like it used to show me it like when I would buy and sell. Huh. Well, that shit sucks. Go to my account's cost basis, is that it? It used to be just right on this page. Cost basis summary. Oh, this isn't. I think I bought at 166. I think. Oh yeah, in June. Oh, 6 months, baby. It's coming up. Oh, just the master trader, guys.
Healthcare or anything. That's woke. Toss it out. There is no calling their bluff because while they may say they care about the FBI exercising power over the weak, internally they have a consistent message, was they want power and they want to kill you. You, of course, being whatever marginalized group is on the table these days, probably not me. The idea that you can
I think
call
that you're
their
wrong
bluff,
about that, but I'll just put it in that, let you finish. Go ahead.
you can't call their bluff on this. It doesn't serve any point. The only thing you're doing is listening to a fascist trying to embolden her political strategy for removing democracy and all the barriers that prevent her from doing so, and going, yes, I think that she's right on this point. And then you propose a solution identical to hers. And
Wait,
then
wait.
And then
The
the reform
solution is not identical to hers. How many times are you going to say that, straw?
Yeah, Strawman Vaush, hold on. 925 for a tier 5 sub. Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. Oh! God! Damn! How does he do it? How does he just consistently come over the top? God! I'm just a monster. Oh!
Wait. Other caveat. Now we're interrupting both ways. And the reform version, the more let's introduce the discourse here, you still frame as addressing some of Republicans' legitimate concerns. They have none. They have none. The Republicans are uniformly against any kind of power.
Can you make Vaush's argument for him? I'm joined in late and I'm confused on what the argument is. Technically, Briahna's argument is correct here, but she's presenting herself as more reasonable than normal. But the problem is that Vaush doesn't have any specifics to nail her down on. What Briahna's argument is I want to reform the FBI. Now, the Republicans, because shit's going with Trump, also want to reform the FBI. Why don't we take the joint issue that we have right now, the joint frustration that we have with the FBI together, come together as Democrats, write a reform bill, put it in front of the Republicans and hash that out with them, and then try to get them to sign on to some sort of FBI reform. Thanks, Shadowcore, for the tier 5, right? That's Briahna's argument. That's a reasonable argument. That's totally fine. If the Republicans are frustrated with something and they want to come forward and do some kind of reform and you want to do the reform, then yeah, harness their frustration, write legislation that you like, and then do it. I don't know how Vaush could possibly argue against that position. The problem is Vaush is boxing with shadows right now. He wants to fight her on positions that he doesn't have quotes for, and she's coming off as a lot more sensible and not as extreme as she normally is because he doesn't have anything exact to to hit her with. So he's boxing with shadows right now.
Being taken away from authoritative institutions. They will back anything that can be done to empower the police, anything that can be done to empower the FBI, the DOJ, or the CIA.
I'm sorry, it's not true.
As long as they're in charge. And when they have the power to take over those institutions, like Donald Trump tried to by firing Mueller, or firing the directors and putting his own cronies in charge, the way the DOJ, I forget it's with Barr, tried to get sedition charges being brought to Black Lives Matter protesters, they don't give a shit about federal power being used to cripple the little guy, as long as they're the ones doing it. And all we're doing is giving legitimacy to their lie when we pretend they have any motivations other than the raw accumulation of power. There are plenty of things the Republicans could have done to indicate they actually care about taking power away from corrupt institutions. They have done zero of these. None. Zilch, nada. They don't do it, and they don't care.
So I said this at the beginning, and I would just like to say this again. And I hope that we don't have to keep going back to this point. There is a difference between Republican voters, regular conservative people to whom these arguments appeal, and elected conservatives. There's no need to debate what elected conservatives in a position of power, what their investments in preserving their own power. Everybody agrees about this. Just like we don't have to go round and round and round about whether or not Marjorie Taylor Greene was a good faith or bad faith actor. As I said repeatedly in my radar, despite you and your response to my radar accusing me of being credulous and taking her at face value, I don't know how many times I can say it. This isn't about Marjorie Taylor Greene. This isn't about convincing elected Republicans. This isn't about any of that.
Voters
it's about
too.
It's the fact that regular people on the ground feel differently about this. And I'm sorry, like this is maybe just a difference of opinion, but my interactions with and real world understanding of the political smorgasbord that is the political diversity of this country and the random groups of beliefs that end up in any one given person who then identifies as conservative or liberal or somewhere in between. It's just not that neat and it's not that clean. And maybe we'll just disagree about this because we have different experiences in the world and of humanity. But I know for a fact that there are people who have a good faith interest in a lot of things, including a good faith concern about the IRS targeting working class people, which is a true thing that happens, even though I think that abolishing the IRS does in the same way that abolishing the FBI potentially could if there weren't other prongs of the Justice Department, et cetera, to hold Trump accountable, end up letting millionaires and billionaires off the hook from getting audited and taxed at all, right? So I think that people, even though conservatives are weaponizing this IRS thing to try to, yes, insulate rich people from getting audits, it's good to say, hey, I hear you when you say you're concerned that the IRS has historically targeted the poor. I hear you when you say that this is a legitimate concern, and it is a legitimate concern. But if you don't meet people there, if you don't acknowledge that there's a core of something there, they have no reason to trust you politically. And maybe your interest isn't in convincing people and changing anybody's mind, and maybe my political project and trying to do so is ultimately a futile one. But I can't see that. I do not believe that there's more utility sitting in these media spaces talking endlessly about what can't be done while the world burns, because a lot of people can't afford to extend the status quo in this way. And some of us want to just try things and throw things at the wall and see what sticks. And you said, I'm sorry, the one last point of what you said, just really quickly. You said that offering, again, you keep saying the same thing as Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what you put in this legislation, but you cannot, you argue that the left calls, or liberals, whatever, the broad left calls Republicans on their shit all the time. It literally doesn't happen because Democrats never put forward clean bills advocating for populist policies. They never do it. We saw this happen with the $15 minimum wage, where it was part of a must-pass bill. Democrats intentionally took it out so that it could be killed. It was a 51 bill, right? It was part of the COVID reconciliation package. Schumer took it out, didn't have to, but took it out on the advice of the parliamentarian, which is advisory. So then it was subject to a 60 vote margin and could be voted down by Marjorie Taylor Greene and, not Marjorie Taylor Greene, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, right? Over and over again, they will never have a standalone bill on things that they know are overwhelmingly popular and they'll make them look bad. They just won't. They bifurcated the bill back better. They do this over and over again. So we never get these clean demonstrations of Republicans are against XYZ. Look at how Bernie has to run around defending that he voted for the crime bill because it had the Violence Against Women's Act in it. That's what they do. In fact, that's what Democrats always do to provide cover for the fact that they are not actually a populist or worker-centered party in the least, and they actually want substantially the same kinds of economic policy that the Republicans want. They just wanted to be a little bit nicer to the gays and the blacks and the immigrants.
Not substantially the same when Republicans are calling for the abolition of the IRS, but I do agree that they're closer to the middle than a lot of people want to acknowledge. I'm not making an argument for the efficacy of the Democratic Party here. I'm only saying that you can take a pretty clean look at what the Republicans or, McConnell failed to table or what they've shot down in the Senate or the House or whatever. It's pretty obvious that Republicans just, in terms of their policy prescriptions, once they get in office, are evil and want bad things. That sounds like a sort of childlike simplicity, but it's actually the God's honest truth. Fake complexity is as misleading as fake simplicity. They will vote against things that are objectively good for the American people over and over and over again. It doesn't seem to affect their their voters' opinions of them that much. Now, I believe you can pull people over, by the way. You said you want to, build a project and reaching out to people, and that the complex variety of their positions make a more, unique and...
Wait, okay, explain. How was Bruce banned for ban evading on his alt account, but his main account wasn't banned? What was he ban evading? I don't understand. Can somebody explain what that means?
Fractured voter than what might be seen just by how people vote. And I agree with that. People are very complicated. The issue I have is that there's a critical difference between
he was banned on his alt
the
and went live on his
situations
main.
we're talking about here. When it comes to the concerns of a voter, reaching out to them, taking their bad idea, like abolishing the IRS and saying, hey, listen,
I don't think it's a bad idea. But if you want to call it not abolishing the IRS, if you want to call it reforming the IRS, can we please just stick with that? If you think that, because it's not the same thing.
Wait. I gotta finish. Wait, abolishing the IRS would absolutely be a bad idea. We have no systems in place.
I'm sorry. I thought we were still talking about the FBI. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Sorry, the FBI,
My
but also more so the IRS. Okay, the IRS. Whew, yeah, no, it's okay. But anyway, you take a Republican who wants to abolish the IRS. I think you can walk up to them. I think you can go, okay, listen, I got you, buddy.
Why were you talking shit about what?
Okay, but we got to talk about this. Spin it off in some way. I think that's okay. The issue I have is who you do it to, on what specific issues, and how you. MTG, I think, is a no-go. I wouldn't agree with her on literally anything that she said, did, or believed that I thought benefited her agenda, because her agenda is oblivion.
Well, you agree with her on one thing. You agree with her about being anti-force the vote.
I mean, we both drink water, I guess. Sure. Wait, was she? Oh, that's right. Because she was one of the people who was consistent about. Yeah. So we got water, sky is blue, and that. And
but here, wait a minute. But why is it that it's like water, sky is blue when it's something like that? But to me, obviously wanting to dramatically limit the powers of an arm of the police state is a no-brainer consideration. The fact that me and Marjorie Taylor Greene are both interested in curbing government power is...
She's not. You keep doing...
She's saying... Okay, fine, let me rephrase.
You keep doing that.
Let me rephrase. That she's saying she's interested in curbing government power is an opportunity for, like, I don't understand why you think that it's like you're talking as though MTG has the ability to write whatever legislation Democrats put forward. That's the opposite of what I'm saying. If she wants to open this broad category of FBI reform, if she wants to open that Pandora's box, she's able to do so, frankly, because she knows that the Democrats are too feckless to actually call her bluff and do anything about it.
Nobody cares. The FBI. Nobody cares about the FBI.
Well, you don't maybe care about the
No.
You don't care about the FBI.
No. The average American does not care about it. It's not like a key voters issue. Police reform is way more up there, and even that just gets towered over by other
But they're not doing that either, Vaush. That's the whole point. That's what's so embarrassing about this whole fiasco. That we had the largest number of people in the streets in a protest movement in American history 2 years ago, to which the Democratic nominee responded, we need more funding for more cops.
Yeah, I agree.
He won
we live in a hell world. I completely agree. We're all dying.
But why do we live in a hell world? Vaush, why is there no accountability?
Listen, I like
Biden did that, and you told people to go vote for Biden
yes,
without any
and I'll
condition.
Do it again. Yes, because there are two candidates who can win, and one is worse than the other.
But
there are two states the FBI.
This.
There are two states the FBI can exist in right now.
Let me ask you this.
Wait, please. There are only two states in which it can exist right now, as represented by the interests of people currently in power.
That's not true.
No. That is. Wait. Can you? Who is fronting a public support for FBI reform?
Nobody. That's my point. That's my point.
Then listen to what I'm saying.
That's the problem. That's the very problem.
So you're agreeing with me then? Based on who is currently in power, there are two possible things that we can do with the FBI.
No, I'm not agreeing with you.
Stop. You just agreed with me.
I'm
you
advocating.
Just agreed with me.
No,
you
I'm
just
not.
Agreed with me.
No,
You're
I didn't.
Advocating for
no, I
changing
didn't.
that situation.
No, I didn't. Exactly.
You're advocating for
I'm advocating for a third opportunity, a third option. That's my job.
So if to get that option, you have to change the current situation, that would imply that an unchanged situation, aka what we exist in now, is one with two options, as represented by the interests of people.
No, there's by that definition, there's only one option because there was only one party advocating anything, which is Marjorie Taylor Greene. So by your metric, there's only one thing out there.
As an option.
Fine.
So then that's it. We have that and we have this.
No, Vaush, this is so ridiculous.
No, you can change it.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Now there are two.
No.
You agree with me.
Vaush.
Now there are two. You can fight for three.
Who cares? I am fighting for 3, and you're convincing people to take one of 2 options because you're too afraid to advocate for anything in the world that's real.
We're almost there. You are tying
So patronizing.
tying option number 3 to the insane bad faith fascist.
No, I'm not.
Why? No,
I'm not.
No, BGG.
Okay, I'll explain it to you. I'll explain it to you real slow.
Wait, please. We have 2 institutional options right now, okay? We have 2 parties, if we may. We have the MAGA group and we have Democrats and moderates broadly. The MAGA group are composed entirely of fascists and people who want to abolish our democracy. And the moderate-leaning Republicans, the moderates and the Democrats are some neutral flavor of law and order to maybe mild reform of the police. Why would you hinge any reform of the FBI to the fascists and not to the legitimate concerns of people who are arguing against police brutality? If you wanted to reach out to people who want to reform the FBI, don't reach out to MAGA voters. Reach out.
God, I'm so glad I'm not in this like political spirit anymore. Like, imagine having this much of a conversation on something that's so fucking irrelevant. Like, there is no broad FBI reform coming anywhere. It has no support anywhere. Like, it's just such a. This is like it's like rearranging. Not even. I was gonna say rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. It's just like it's like such a nothing conversation. This is like such a waste of like. Everything.
Got the liberals. They were the ones out there on the streets protesting against police brutality, ineffectively, I might add, because we live in a hell world. But if you're going to tie FBI reform to some kind of optical or political front or movement, why would you do it to the worst people with the worst intentions rather than the not worst people with the not worst intentions? This is the issue that I have. Our power is in our voice. Our legitimacy conveys strength to broader public fronts. Marjorie Taylor Greene runs this train, not you. Or Donald Trump technically does. She's the conductor. So you can use words
like hinge and tie and do what you want. But I think most people understand.
Articles like and to.
I think that most people understand. My audience has no cognitive difficulty in processing, exploiting a opportunity rhetorically in the political
audiences
field.
Have cognitive difficulties. Trust me, I have one. We've all. My
audience gets it. My audience, there's nobody who didn't already have a bad faith.
Oh my God, Vaush.
There's nobody in my audience who didn't already have a bad faith perspective of me, who's gotten a lot of clicks and views out of calling me every name in the book and criticizing every word out of my mouth, frankly. Unless you already had an inclination to think the worst of me. Nobody who heard me say, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an utter fool, but she's opened the door to something that is legitimate, which is that the FBI needs to be abolished. Let's say substantive reform, since that's a sticking point for you, and we disagree on that issue.
This is like
Jesus Christ, dude, come on.
It's like saying it's like saying the Nazis opened the door to anarchism because they abolished the Wehrmacht.
I can probably stick an engine like here and here, right?
It's appropriate to continually compare Marjorie Taylor Greene, one elected representative of the United States of America, to the Nazi regime that killed 6 million plus Jews and however many tens of millions of Russians.
Absolutely. The fact that you don't think that's appropriate is insane to me. Like, genuinely.
Oh, no.
Okay. I think that's pretty disrespectful to millions of dead people and real life consequences, but we don't have to go down that road. I think
tragic,
look,
I'm sure.
I think it's a rhetorical...
You'll just drop a shoe at the door and then leave it. It's
I think it's rhetorically... I think there's a reason why Goodwin's Law is what it is. It's rhetorically, I think, weak to constantly have to shoehorn Nazis into every argument to make your point. I don't think that either of us needs to do that.
They're fascists. It's a perfectly valid especially since in this case, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Vaush fucking rewatching that Charlottesville video over every single day so they can relive the glory days of talking about fascism and Nazis on the internet.
Marjorie Taylor Greene also wants to abolish a federal institution that she's just using as a bulwark to achieve power, but other people might misinterpret.
85% of what the FBI has done is to crush people like me, people who are black, people who are Latin, people who are... But I know that she doesn't care, Vaush. Why do you keep saying that to me? I know she doesn't care.
Then why do you keep bringing it up?
Wait a minute. I know she doesn't care.
Historically, the Weimar Republic had done so many bad things. Do you think that made it more justifiable when the Nazis said they wanted to abolish it in favor of putting Hitler as the Führer?
Nazis.
The argument is...
Anybody want to talk about Nazis?
The Weimar Republic had done like mostly bad things. It was a government in
the argument is that if the left...
early 20th century.
Please let me talk about Nazis.
If the left wants to make if the right wants to make a claim, like the police are bad. This is what was happening at the moment. After years of criticizing the left and calling everybody Antifa and flying Blue Lives Matter flags, between 1-6 in this moment, there has been a really interesting shift and realignment inside the Republican Party.
They're all still pro law and order.
They're not.
They are. They all. If you take a look at what motivates Republican voters and which candidates tend to win in the midterms, law and order rhetoric, cracking down on the BLM protesters, Antifa.
They're not all still law and order.
No, they're anti the Capitol Police and FBI.
Wait a minute. I am not making a claim that now all Republicans hate the police. I'm not making the claim that 90% of the Republicans hate the police. I'm saying no such thing. What I'm arguing is that there is a new vulnerability in their arguments. There's a new subtlety to these arguments where for the first time, and perhaps a long time, Republicans can imagine a world in which they are oppositional to the police. It's not just a consequence of 1-6. I don't know if you watched that Andrew Callahan documentary. There are all of these interesting moments that are burbling up. And Marjorie Taylor Greene saying this thing about the FBI was in some ways like the highest profile crack in what has been a very formidable defense or alignment, I should say, of Republicans and the police since time immemorial.
Another day, no Deep Space Science 3.
Now,
Fuck you, I'm working on it. Okay, chill.
It's not a real thing. It's a superficial crack. It's not a real thing. It doesn't matter. I understand that you disagree with this, but my perspective is it's worth chipping away at that and see how far we can go. Let's chip away at them and either force them to double down and go back to saying they love the police and that's fine, whatever. No love lost, or create opportunities.
I think you got one thing wrong. Briahna Joy's greatest position was not reform the FBI. No, her position is abolish it. But because Vaush doesn't have like quotes or receipts or whatever, she's getting to skirt by in a much more moderate position than she actually holds. But Vaush doesn't have any quotes or anything, so of course she's going to present herself in the most favorable light possible. Yeah.
If they're going to tell their audiences, if they're going to speak to the average conservative voter and say, actually the police aren't always good. Oh, actually maybe we shouldn't have qualified immunity. Maybe police members should be held accountable too, because sometimes they go after people that I like. How is it delusional? Even Donald Trump, there's been a conservative push to end qualified immunity for years. That's like a real thing.
They are only after power if it's in their way. There is no institutional
Of course, she doesn't believe that that's not true. But
the current conservative darlings are Trump, who said that we should suspend the Constitution, and DeSantis, who is currently constructing his own little Oceania down there in Florida. The current leading conservative constitutional interpretation theory is one where they essentially abolish originalism and go in favor of what like a kind of paternalistic Christian nationalism. They are purely authoritarian in every element of their political advocacy, and coincidentally, the only time they seem to have a problem with power is when it's in their way. Why would you ever give this any weight or credence?
What's so crazy about
why pretend it's a crack? It's not a crack. They're a unified wall.
What's
it's
crazy
a brick.
is that, like, literally in my radar, like every time I talk about these things, I'll say exactly that, and you don't hear it. Like it's like
There's
you don't
no
want to hear it.
It's a steel block.
I'll say, hey, audience, this is a principle, whether it's free speech or limiting government power, and you believe in it. Now, the people that you like on the right who are talking about these things, they're saying they believe in those things, but they're not really good faith actors. They're just trying to protect their own. I just did a radar like this about the IRS. So if you genuinely believe in these principles, like the poor shouldn't be targeted by the IRS, here's alternative policy. For example, part of Bernie Sanders' wealth tax was to have a 30%, I think, quota for millionaires and billionaires getting taxed to try to correct for how disproportionately poor people are getting or audited, not taxed, right? So you meet them where they are. You say, I understand why these things appeal to you. They're not actually going to do those things to help you.
That's great.
So then you pivot. That's all this is. And look, at the end of the day,
good. Wait, that was good. That was I have no problem
Vaush,
at all.
That's literally what my radar was. But you have a hang-up about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and that's fine. You obviously think that she is more dangerous and more fascist.
I don't like fascists. That's true.
That's
a lefty
fine.
principle of mine. Look, that's literally.
That's fine.
Wait, BJG, you've literally hit the issue. If everything that you had said was, here is an issue Republicans are concerned about, I don't think they're coming at it from a right angle. Here's the right angle. If that,
Vaush, that's literally what I said in the radar. We'll play the radar right here, by the way, in the podcast so everybody can see word for word. Marjorie Taylor Greene has become America's favorite broken clock. And it's that time of day where she's regretfully 100% right. Now, I don't take her critique in good faith. I don't expect her to keep this up when a candidate of her liking is in control of the deep state. But you should. Her hypocrisy doesn't have to be the hypocrisy of the average conservative voter. I said Marjorie Taylor Greene is a bad faith actor. They don't really mean this. They're only doing this to protect Trump. However, this is what the left should be doing. And the fact that I say that, Vaush, and you still hit me with all these bad faith attacks. And by the way, you didn't just call Marjorie Taylor Greene a fascist. You called me a fascist.
A fascist enabler at times. We'll get to your Ukraine takes, I'm sure. It's not about the core of the argument
Vaush,
you just laid out to me.
Do you think that's useful? I mean, if you honestly think I'm a fascist enabler and someone who wants to murder Ukrainian children,
The last one was a joke.
Wait a
the
minute.
first one was.
But wait a minute. Why would you agree to come on Rising and look me in the face and be friendly and nice and act like all is well in the world?
What?
If you really have that level of antagonism toward me, if you really think that I'm as bad a person as you tell your audience repeatedly, then why even agree to come on Rising in the first place?
First of all, a couple of things. I've sat face to face with Charlie Kirk. You know, he's
So have I.
right. Okay, I talked civilly with him. I don't have any qualms about that. Second of all, I say mean things about a lot of people. It's genuinely just.
But why, Vaush? Because I've been accused of being a grifter. I've been accused of ginning up, fighting over force of stuff. But I don't take personal attacks at people. I don't do response videos to try to create beef. In fact, I'm inviting you here today in part because I've ignored you. I've chosen not to engage. It doesn't seem constructive. But because you were so, frankly, kind of polite and humble on Rising, I thought there might be a genuine opportunity for us to have a meeting of the minds at the very least. But then you make a joke like the one you just made, and it makes me feel like this was a fool's errand.
No, what we're having right now isn't a breakdown in communication. It's an aesthetic difference in how we approach what we do.
Well, I gotta tell you, human to human, I don't feel it like it's an aesthetic difference. It feels degrading and unconstructive in a space that actually means a lot to me, because I think the project that we're ostensibly both involved in is an incredibly important one. This isn't like, I'm not trying to be famous on the internet from talking about politics. I only became well, no, I was an attorney with a very good salary that didn't need any of this, to be honest. So I'm here because my passion for these issues drove me to start freelancing. I ended up getting a full-time position, and I ended up getting plucked by the Bernie campaign to be a part of this. That's why I'm here. And I'm not trying to grandstand to say that, but I just want to be honest about, emotionally, it feels very frustrating to feel like you're trying to do something constructive. I'm open to criticism. I'm open to saying this is a different suggestion. We can go this way and that way. You don't like force the vote. Okay, so Rhoda had these other asks that was so constructive. We grew, we developed, we moved forward. But it seems to me that your position, that your desire is to...
Vaush can fight back here, and he can justify his really rude rhetoric towards her. He just needs clips. He needs a way to prove it. If I were to put a wall around here and empty this space out, would I significantly decrease my hole stress? Because I don't need this whole section. What if I just put this wall here, and then I cut out the floor? Would it be really good, or let's check?
Coin winners or losers, dub winners or losers, good people or bad people, grifters and not grifters, fakes or legitimate folks. And that seems to be ultimately very destructive to me, to this broader project that I think that we share, no?
We definitely share it to an extent. And I don't think that, there's obviously a huge overlap in the stuff that we actually do believe. I do genuinely believe that a lot of this is an aesthetic difference. If I was feeling cynical, I would accuse you of engaging in a kind of civility politic here, right? There were plenty of sincere, well-minded political activists back in the 1980s who would have shown up in leather strap or punk mohawks.
Well, that wouldn't bother me.
They might have. Well,
and
they might have been
cursing doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me.
They might have been mean too, right?
Either you really think you believe that narrative that I am indifferent to the interests of Ukrainian children, or you don't. Which is it? Don't bring it up as a joke. Do you think that I am happy, that I laugh at genocide and think it's great for Ukrainian children to be killed? Is that something that you think? Then let's talk it out. But don't bring it up as a joke.
I wasn't under the impression that particular bit would get to you so much. But if you want my sincere opinion,
it's not about it getting to me.
Bro, you literally said, but you can justify it, Vaush. Just bring up her quote. What, we can't help people in Ukraine because people in Haiti are suffering? That. Her statement makes no sense, but he doesn't have any quotes. This is symmetrical, right? I think these two are symmetrical.
It's real life.
That's fine. Wait, I'm not insulting.
I don't think that Ukrainian children being dead is a joke, in fact.
Wait, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be insincere there. When I said got to you, I wasn't trying to epically own you by indicating you're emotionally involved in the stuff you talk about. I am too. The sincere, actual, non-joking, fully straightforward position that I have on that debate that you had was that I only saw the damn clip. But I do know that a lot of lefties, and people adjacent to lefties even, not just lefties, have attitudes on the Ukraine war that I consider to be outright fascist apologia. I don't think that makes them irredeemable people, or that I shouldn't speak to them, or that they're bad people fundamentally, or that they're malicious or lying or anything. But but I do care about these issues, and it's a product of the fact that I care about these issues that I take the stances that I do. If I fly off the handle a little bit too much, I think that's a fine criticism. You know, nobody's perfect.
So having not, you didn't actually watch the episode, you just saw the clip and you made it a pin. Did you, I don't actually know, did you do a response video on my position on Ukraine? Have you done a video?
I saw it on stream. If it got turned into a video, that would have been my editors. I don't think I talked about that for more than like 30 seconds though. So I don't think I did a full thing.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that.
Do you think it's responsible? Like maybe it's fine. Like I can't police, everyone makes clips about me. For all that I'm called a grifter, it seems that I'm fueling the media ecosystem of YouTube with everybody making clips about my original content.
Well, you know how much people dislike me, right? So that's a mutual thing right there. People get real mad about me.
I can't speak to what people say about you. I have very consciously chosen not to engage because I don't think that kind of thing is constructive. And if somebody who wouldn't normally listening to me is listening to you and saying Medicare for all is a good idea, at the end of the day, I'll let sleeping dogs lie. To me, that's a net benefit, and I don't need to tear you down or talk about anybody else on the internet. That's not my business.
Well, right, you don't do reactive content quite as much, right? If you're live streaming, of course, you go over all the clips and videos and arguments and discourse that you see and you react to it.
I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not, and I don't mean this, you know,
disrespectfully.
we're in different spaces, and it's fine to be an entertainer. It's fine, but like that's not my niche. So all I would say to that is like, I think it would be useful and good and probably actually elevate your content. I mean, that sounds patronizing. I don't mean it like that, but I think it'd be useful and good to perhaps review everything in total, in context, to assume good faith of people. That's the irony of the name of my podcast. Is the whole point is that to try to.
It's the first time I'm seeing this woman. She seems totally reasonable, but you said she was crazy. She has insane positions, but the problem is Vaush didn't do his homework on any of those things. He didn't come here ready to discuss any of those things. So yeah, she looks super reasonable right now because Vaush she's a smart person. She's insane, but she's very smart. I don't know why Vaush wouldn't do any homework coming to this. He was just so arrogant and thinking that he could just step onto the show and smash her without like any type of preparation. It was super stupid.
To engage legitimately and in good faith with all of these arguments, even with people I disagree. And that means not taking an isolated clip, or even within the clip, frankly, I think I make myself clear, but not taking an isolated clip and making content on it that causes people to make jokes or claims about me like I like and enjoy the death of Ukrainian children. That's all I would say.
With respect, I think that we're both culpable of this, even in this conversation to an extent. Like you mentioning that I'd called you subhuman, or you saying that it was disrespectful to the millions of dead that I might make a comparison to Nazi Germany. These are things that both of us do, intentionally or otherwise, to lower the opinion of the other in the eyes of our audience. Or I guess in this case, whoever is sympathetic to me who watches this content on your end, since I'm not live streaming. I don't think, look, I'm fine with banter and insults back and forth. I love that shit. Oftentimes I feel like a hyperfixation on it's to the detriment of the conversation because people get all up in arms about who's being ruder to who. The ideal is obviously for everyone to be polite. But we both shouted. We both made jabs at each other. I think that's wonderful.
I don't
think it's bad faith.
Shouting. I don't have an issue with any of that. I think that, look, at worst, I could be accused of, Vaush, not understanding the existential harm that Marjorie Taylor Greene and her politics present to the United States. At worst, you could say that I, underestimate the potential harm that could come of me saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene is right about this one narrow issue. And that's a perfectly legitimate criticism somebody can make. But you know that you went a lot further than saying that.
Fascist apologia, yeah. Which I stand by. I think that you've engaged in it to an extent. Okay. It's fine. Who doesn't do that, right? I mean, the first principle of being a lefty is to hate other lefties.
Oh, man, and now he walks it all back as just memes and jokes. Oh, no. Oh, no, Vaush. Oh, I can cover this whole ship with one pylon based.
I don't think that I do. And in
criticism.
fact, I think that the FBI is a fascist organization if we want to use these kinds of words. And I could easily say that wanting to defend and protect the FBI. I think that Biden's a fascist. I talked to Cornel West about this at length.
Then call me a fascist apologist. Do it. If you think that, then you should have no problem calling me that, right?
But I don't actually think that that's true, Vaush. And I also don't spend my time attacking. I attack the powerful. I'm interested in attacking, or not attacking, but in criticizing Joe Biden because he has the power to affect so many lives. I'm interested in attacking institutions because they have the power to oppress people. I'm not interested in arguing with podcasters. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the point. And I think that you serve a valuable role. I think a lot of people in this space who I've argued with and disagreed with serve a valuable role. People like Sam Cedar, people like Jimmy Dore, who I sometimes agree with and sometimes I don't. I don't spend my time. And it's frustrating, I gotta say, when you exercise some restraint and don't spend all your time fighting with people, for that to be characterized as having alliances and secret cabals of like, it's ridiculous.
Well, I'm not making those criticisms. I usually criticize you for the stuff I think you've said or made points about. I understand that, you know, the tribalism here can get out of order from time to time. We obviously different kinds of content, but I'm glad you understand at least that there's a direction to this. Criticizing people in power is fine and good, but sometimes bringing on some dipshit MAGA hat to argue with for 2 hours while calling him every possible word that won't get you banned from YouTube is legitimately a good way of moving over people from the right. It sounds stupid, but especially with the right, you know, oftentimes their allegiances have more to do with conveyed strength than actual arguments. So if you can make somebody look kind of funny and make a couple of good jokes, they'll take you more seriously. And
so
those
what's the
are
difference
attitudes.
between that? Let me ask you, like, what's the difference between that and what I'm talking about with alluding to the fact that, oh, you like Marjorie Taylor Greene? Here, what about my pet project over here on the left? Because there are people who've said, after your Rising appearance, you know, it's wrong to ask Vaush to talk about this because of past statements he's made about women. You know, it's wrong. It's inappropriate. It's hypocritical. Da 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 da.
Hit her with a Virgil thing. Vaush, hit her with a Virgil thing.
That any person is inappropriate to allude to or to bring into a part of a conversation or to respect in any way or to validate rather in any way. So what is the difference between you debating Charlie Kirk? Are you and I validating Charlie Kirk and his beliefs or that he's a legitimate political figure by engaging with him in debate? Some people think so.
You know,
some people think so.
It's funny you bring that up because there was an instance in my conversation with him that I thought kind of spoke to the principle you were talking about showing them up or brain cucking them or whatever term you used. He was talking about.
Sure I've never
you might have used that term. he was talking about the pharmaceutical industries and how they're bad. Fauci, ouchie, whatever. God, you know. And then I said, you know, you can't pull that crap with me. I want to nationalize these industries. You can't. Like, this doesn't work with me. Will you nationalize them? And he dropped the subject, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think that's like a very workable example of what you're saying is good to do. Mm-hmm. You talk about differences, right? In this particular, and I'll do the Godwin's Law.
Oh my God.
Time, okay?
Giggity, googity, gifted tier 3 subs.
And I'm dropping it forever.
Thanks, buddy.
I've read up a lot on the whole Nazis, fall of the Weimar, whatever. There was a strong intellectual weakness on the part of the Stalin-backed communists in Germany at the time. The attitude was, around a lot of them, a tendency to underestimate the Nazis. The idea that this was just like another upsurge of conservatism, a populist conservatism that could be used by them. And they ended up actually being supportive of some of the institutional destruction that was done by the Nazis as they slowly like undid German democracy because they felt that it was a sort of a dismantling of bourgeois democracy. I am very, very, very... what's the term? Vigilant, I guess, of tendencies that I see in line with that.
I can't have all this
obviously
shit
I'm not
together
perfect
like
in
this,
what
so.
I see is, like leans into that. I could be wrong in my assessment. I feel confident on this one, but I do have a particular like fucking. Can I say that here? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. What? Okay, I was so good this entire time. I have a thing with that specific subject. And I do think a lot of lefties really underestimate it. You know, it was like the Bernie or bust discourse too with Biden and Trump. And so many lefties were like, yeah, Trump and Biden are two sides of the same coin. They don't understand. A lot of them just don't understand. Bourgeois democracy may be a killer, but it is infinitely better than what we could be living under. And I think that leftism can only really even have a chance at making its arguments if we exist in a system that's not openly persecuting us in the way that the MAGA crowd probably would the first chance they got. I mean, God, can you imagine if Barr had started putting out insurrection charges and all the BLM protesters? It would have been over for democracy in this country. Thank God he got ousted when he did. So that's a bugbear for me. But it's not born of insensitivity or bad faith tendencies on my part. These are sincere things I care about.
So I understand your argument. Yours, it's the mainstream argument. It's the mainstream Democratic liberal argument. It is, in fact, the vote blue no matter who argument, right?
It absolutely is, yeah. But
I don't. But wait a minute.
Wait.
I honestly don't feel like you understand my argument. With respect, that was part 1 of a 2-part, 3-hour interview.
Jesus, he has to go on for 2 more hours. Oh man, what is this?
So here's a couple of issues really quick. Wait, let's finish the thing. and confront their ideas in person, which is why other streamers are growing. First of all, the only other streamer you're referring to here is Destiny. I don't like going I don't like spending multiple days off streaming and flying all the way across the country and risking COVID to talk to an idiot in person. I genuinely...
Risking COVID? Dog, you're a healthy young man. What do you mean risking COVID? Get vaccinated. You're fine. Even if you get sick, it's not gonna be that bad. Also, wait, how many days a week? Doesn't he only stream 4 or 5 days a week?
Genuinely, like, don't think they're worth my time. Tim Pool's show is big enough that I'll suffer for it. But like, for the most part, this is not something I want to do that much. Like seriously, everyone does online shows. That's fine. The problem with debating conservatives is that there are not good debates anymore. I'm really sorry to say this, guys. Right now, conservatives are all like Fourth Reich posting. They're pretty much like completely consolidated behind we're aware of the fact that we're lying and evil bait. The only conversations I actively don't want to have are ones in which I just agree with the person and there's not like any real worth to it, or ones in which the other person has no actual interest in like there's no stakes involved whatsoever. It doesn't feel like there's that much to debate, to be honest, because like their positions are objectively incorrect. Dylan has gone on the Crucible a few times. Yeah, it's just Dylan being right.
They're just objectively wrong.
The Crucible is the thing done by Big Papa Fascist, right? That's his thing, I think. I don't mind the debate.
Holy Giga Chad.
Necessarily. The problem is oftentimes the people who I'm debating, like what I've noticed, and this is the case with like Hinkle or like Sneeko or whatever, it's that there are no stakes to the debate. They'll come in and say something incorrect, like factually, and you'll correct them, and they'll go.
Can you put a thruster in the middle?
Move on to the next thing. There's no engagement, and afterwards, their entire audience is like completely unconcerned with the fact that they acted that way, because they have reached the final stage of fascist interlocution, which is where you just don't care whether or not something is true or false anymore. That's the final stage of the far right. It's you reach a point where, like, can you imagine having a debate with a Nazi back in like 38 or something? Like an American Nazi who supports the
obsession with like World War II shit. Please.
Can you imagine having a debate with them? Do you think you'd ever get like a position on them where they like pause to think for a second, or they go like, or they change their mind? People who are that far gone are usually like ideologically comfortable with the concept of like anti-empiricism. This is the reason why Nick Fuentes will say something objectively wrong, get proven wrong in it, and then keep saying it. Or when he finds studies that disprove what he says, he'll call them Jewish lab coat studies. They know they're wrong, and it doesn't matter to them. Being right is of secondary concern to having power. These debates are not interesting, and I also don't gain anything from them. Literally nothing. Anybody with an audience that's trained to appreciate behavior like that is too far gone to even engage with. Maybe you can get like a couple people off the edge, but it's pretty tough there. It's just difficult to find debates these days. The nature of conservative engagement is shifting quite a bit from what it was back when I started the channel. What editing, kittens? There will always be people who do the I miss the old Vaush post, but that's okay. And a lot of them just don't debate anymore, yeah. Do you think they feel the same way about the left, where they know they're wrong, they don't care, and they spew their garbage? A lot. I think that's one of the interesting splits. There are fascists who believe the left is different and prioritizes truth, but don't care. And there are fascists who think the left is as dishonest, and that they're all playing the same game. I'm not sure how relevant it is when it comes to talking to them, but, you know.
I think everybody thinks they're right. Nobody thinks they're pushing falsehoods. I don't know if that's what he's implying.
The problem is a lot of people want debate specifically, but debating is a two-way street. You know, you need literally at least one other person to do it, and it's pretty difficult. Do you think there are any rhetorical strategies to make the kind of debate worthwhile? No. Like, you guys realize what we're really talking about in situations like that is like arguing with a petulant 9-year-old who's having a fit, or like, have you ever heard a kid? Have you ever seen a kid get like really angry and their response to it was to be a stubborn asshole, but they're not like rational? So they'll disagree with everything you say, whether or not it makes sense or is in their benefit or not. Like, they're just disagreeing to disagree. I would feel as much like fulfillment out of arguing with them. But you can find other types of content to engage with.
Damn. Do you think Vaush is going to be retired in a year?
And then they'll claim victory. True. Yeah, Vaush and his little bitch boy ass always comes up with the same cat boy ass excuse. Ooh, woo, I don't really message first, guys. Sorry, I'm a really shy cat boy. I can't help it. Type with one hand. Don't ban them. I'm not banning anyone.
I would.
That being said, his little bitch ass catboy ooh woo fucking head ass bullshit. What is this? What are we talking about? Yes, I don't like emailing people first, okay? I'm like, cry about it. Seriously, if you're enough of a fan of mine that you would whine about it in my subreddit, then email them and go, hey, you should debate Vaush. Literally, I'm sorry. If you're that mad about it, just do it. People email me all the time saying, hey, you should talk to this person. You should debate.
Yeah, that's true. He's probably already kind of like thrown in, but he probably makes like 30,000 a year or so, or not 30,000 a year. I bet he makes 20, 30,000 a month on YouTube ad revenue. So he can just like keep kind of like shitting out videos for a while until he gets bored and quits. If I had to guess.
This person, if they can do that for them, you can do that for me. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine, but then don't complain here. Jesus. As far as little cats, only streaming to chill with his main subscribers, ass literal cats on stream way too much, head ass fucking lame gay ass streams. What are these people? Oh my god, I'm so tired today because I'm a man baby who can't sleep at the right time. Lame excuse, have an ass, need to tighten the fuck. What? Why are the... It's like... The Reddit here is so much worse than my chat in so many ways. This is clearly a bait. It's a 50% bait. It's a sea of him screaming no to his main chat with rare island sightings of podcasts with Briahna Joyver. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I went on, in the past week alone, the Young Turks Rising, the Bad Faith pod. Okay. Oh, this person has my, okay, that's nice. A lot of the problem is conservatives have changed in the past 3 years. There aren't really conservatives interested in debating their ideas on the basis of their merits and objective reality. Now, if Vaush wants to debate a conservative, it will always devolve into them reciting their NPC dialogue. Now, people who have joined the stream recently may not remember this, but I swear to God, back in 2019 and 2020,
yeah,
Trump supporters would earnestly argue the economic benefit.
Hold on, wait, real quick, just to be clear, because I see them trying to take W's in places. People are saying that, like, I see this line of thought over and over again. Conspiracy theorists were right about a lot of stuff when it came to COVID. No, they weren't. They were wrong about almost everything. I see this. Conspiracy theorists are 68-0 this year. No, they're not. I don't think they were right about almost anything. Remember ivermectin was going to cure us? Remember hydroxychloroquine was going to cure us? Remember that millions of people were going to be dying from the vaccine? Remember how they said that the government was going to expand powers and do lockdowns forever and ever and ever? Remember how they were saying vaccine passports would become a permanent thing that was going to be like all over the world? Like, there were tons of claims that the conspiracy theorists made that never came true. That were never true. Like, it's just not true at all. Like, tweet it. I already tweeted at him. This is just like, there are tons of claims that conspiracy theorists made that have never come true. Like, the only claims that are maybe kind of true is that it's actually kind of funny, because I think one claim that was kind of true was that in the beginning, the CDC undersold how well masks would help. But I'm pretty sure now conspiracy theorists don't even believe that masks do anything at all anyway. So I don't even know where their position is on that. Like, Jesus.
Benefits of his policies, and they would like...
Vaccine passport thing is true though, right? People said it was going to become permanent. Are there any states right now that still require vaccine passports? There might be, I don't know. I know that when I was up in Seattle last they did, but that was a while ago. But when I was in New York last, they didn't. Are there any states that still require you to show a vaccination status to get into play? Is there anything in the US that still does that? I don't know if anybody in the US still does that. Even Canada dropped it in most places? Yeah.
get frustrated when they realize they didn't have the evidence to back up their points. I would have econ debates with Trump supporters, and they would care about what they were saying. That doesn't happen anymore. That's not real anymore. That can't happen anymore. It just doesn't. No Trump supporter would do that. You would say like, hey, immigration is actually good for the economy and here are studies. And they would just look at you and laugh and then start like reciting some shit about how like, like keep them out, build the wall. Like they don't care. The thing is shifted over significantly. It's a difficult environment for like debate. It really is.
Oh yeah, TwitchCon did. I have no idea why. That was so weird.
There's other stuff that I'm trying to focus on. This is why I'm trying to focus more on like self-help stuff, men's issues, self-help. If we like talk about gym stuff, I mean, I need to get my costochondritis fixed before I can do any working out myself, unfortunately. But
costochondritis? Wait, what?
Like
Jesus.
dating or whatever. I'm trying. There are so many.
Did you know that in
Wait. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Big Ack trying to get some of that Kanye clout.
My name is Jeff.
What was this?
He could do a lot more. I remember a while back, Destiny was saying, what if Vaush saw another lefty streamers got together and did a reality show where they started a workers' co-op? How does Destiny manage to be retarded while being a smart guy? How does he... What the what? 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 That'd be a good reality show content. Actually, maybe I'm not giving it enough credit. Truverman. What does that even mean? Well, it'd be like a sitcom, right? Like we'd all be at like a organic fair trade like coffee shop or something, and it'd be like there'd be like bits like all the streamers.
Why don't you just engage the shipment target again? There's no need to deconstruct it because I have no feel in the tanks, Rodney's, and I don't have any power on my thing, so I'd have to like feel the tanks. It's easier to just take it apart and reconstruct it. Here, fuck that.
Except for Hassan would feign back injury, so he would carry in like the deliveries. It'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, Hassan, I hurt my back. Can you get this? Then he's like, oh, okay. And then I like wink at the camera, or so, like all bullshit like that. Wait, but I kind of like that though. Yeah, they'd all vote you off the island. Hey, I have barista experience. Okay, I would be the one you'd want to keep there. Thank you. I was pretty good at it. Dude, I have a memory I'm still fucking salty about, man. I did barista shit, and it was like, I don't even remember. I haven't done this in more than a decade or whatever. But it was like, I was explaining to another employee, being supervised by another employee, how to do a particular kind of coffee. And I was like, okay, now fill it 2/5 of the way with foam. And my supervisor was like, oh, 2/5? So specific. Like making fun of me for like, hey, there's a reason I'm teaching them and not you, okay? Yeah, 2/5, all right? Sorry if we're not doing everything in fucking quarters or half. Like the fucking tone.
Who's filling something 2/5 with anything?
In her voice, man. Like I was just like, it's a fucking recipe. I was like, hey, how do you get your coffee so good every time? Like, okay, well you do 2/5 of this foam and then you do like, oh, 2/5. So specific. Whenever